America, my name is Osei-Frimpong. I come to you live every week. And today we're going to talk about why kids need fathers and not necessarily father figures. They need the actual person who sired them, because the actual person who sired them has a special relationship with them. And while the actual person who sired them may renounce the relationship to them, it's not obvious that the kid can renounce their relationship to the father. So I think kids have a right to be raised by a unified family. And in order to be raised by a unified family, that means parents have to work out whatever mess is seemingly irreconcilable that keeps them apart. But that parents are not fungible. They cannot be replaced by, a newer model or a better model, because the actual activity of the person who is parenting determines the family. And if you just cut out one of the parents, that means you just have an indeterminate family. And I don't think kids should live in an indeterminate household, or a household where the parents say, like, well, we have irreconcilable differences, while actually making functionally the child try to reconcile what it means to live in an irreconcilable household and to be an irreconciled person. Because parents are, like, children aren't their own individuals. Parents determine the totality of the child's needs. They determine the particular way in which those child's needs are met, and they determine the actual activity. Like, the activity of the child is in concert. There's someone who's waking the child up and making sure the child goes to bed and teaching them how they act. Now, the child also contributes to the concerted family activity, which is considered like upbringing, but it is not. The child isn't even the most important actor in their own actions. And that's why we don't hold children responsible for when they do bad things. We hold the parents responsible, because it's their parents' responsibility, not just to teach a child not to do bad things, but to actually do the things with the child. You have to brush your child's teeth. You have to change your diaper. You can't just tell your child to change its own diaper. That's not how it works. You have to do the activity. So their individuality is the product of a concerted family activity. And if you have two different kinds of ways of doing it, that means you don't have like a unified child. You have something that's unintelligible. Even if it's biologically healthy, it's unintelligible. So when that child actually has to think about how to govern their own lives, they don't have an intelligible, like, their habits will not make sense intelligibly, because it comes from two different households and with two different particular ways of living life. And but what I want to talk about today is how it's not just that they have to have a unified particularity. You can't just swap out one parent for like some random to fill in that role without the same tie to the individual child. And the tie is historical, right? Like, it goes all the way back to like conception with these two individuals, and not just two random individuals. It's like the two individuals who actually conceived the child the child is bonded to. And without that, you need a lot of a lot of stories to tell yourself. Now, it seems clear that adults can dissolve their relationship with other adults. And it seems clear that adults can dissolve their relationships with children, maybe. But it doesn't seem clear that children can dissolve their relationships with their parents. They can't, like, because they're children. We don't allow children the kind of authority to waive their rights to be parented. So parents can waive their rights to be parents, but children can't waive their rights to be parented. And so, like, you have an asymmetry in rights based on the essential vulnerability and dependence of children on the unified household. We are casual about this, and we take the inability for children to actually have a say in waiving their rights about parents as license for parents just to do whatever the parents want without regard to the children. And that's what often happens. Parents decide, well, this isn't about you. This is about our life. And then what happens is the child, like, you've made a decision about the family that is very much not about the child, and it's a form of child abuse, because the child has a right to a unified household. And I'm not just talking about the schlepping of stuff from household to household every other weekend, or They have the right to parents who are on the same page. They have a right to parents who are on the same page. And if you can't get on the same page, you need to figure out a way to get on the same page for the sake of like fulfilling your duty to your child. Else it's child abuse. Trying to make kids reconcile pages that the parents themselves have deemed irreconcilable, that's a form of child abuse. And you can't be surprised when you end up raising a feckless kid or a mercenary. I'm just saying that's just the truth. And if you try to substitute, a parental figure for like another one to fulfill the form of what a unified household looks like, you haven't gotten rid of the tie between the parent and the child and their actual parent and their bio parent. You think you have because maybe you've upgraded, but you still haven't gotten rid of that tie, and you haven't accounted for the disillusion of the tie. So then you just have to think, the bio mother or the bio dad doesn't matter, doesn't have any responsibility to me. And that's just not true. That's just not true. The bio dad and the bio mom does have a responsibility to you, and there better be a story about like why the bio mom or bio dad can't fulfill that responsibility. And that story better be true, because if you tell that kid one story and then 10 years later, 15 years later, they find out that you were just a mercenary who upgraded, or you didn't really think that in your ignorance, because you hadn't listened to this show, you didn't think that children actually need parenting and a unified household. And you realize why your kid, could have used a mother, could have used a dad, could have used a unified household, could have used not schlepping from one household to the other with like two different ways of being and ways of navigating life, right? You didn't listen to this, or you didn't take that seriously, and your kid's a mess, or just non-optimal. And it's because we have a culture that doesn't take family seriously, and then doesn't understand that it's not just a particular form of family that's important. It's actually the individuality of the people involved. You can't, parents are not fungible. You cannot just change one with a younger model, or change one parent with that's not how the ties work. The immediate tie works. You can't just change one parent for like a richer one, or change one for a younger model. And expect that to take as a matter of family. What you are is demonstrating that family doesn't matter, and that it's all about that the unity of family doesn't matter, and it's all about I don't know, you're just telling yourself that kids don't need upbringing. And I've also heard newly divorced parents say that, well, the kid enjoys it, the kid's happier. That's not, or the kid wants it this way. There's so much, especially among liberals, like shunting the responsibility of parenting and being an adult onto the children, and then blaming the children when it doesn't work out to like the adult's convenience. Like liberals are worse than this. No, it's not the kid's responsibility to register or opine and judge whether the family is better with you guys being unified. The kid's right to a unified family is inalienable because it's a kid. Like, they can't waive their rights. They can't bless the divorce. That's not their job. They're kids. So pretending that your divorce is okay, your casual divorce is okay because the kid likes it, is like pretending that dinner is okay because the kid likes it, even if the dinner is like ice cream. Of course the kid's gonna like ice cream. It's ice cream. Right? Of course the kid's gonna like you being happier now that you're alone. Your job was to put on a better face in front of the kid and be happy in your crappy marriage. And make it less crappy. Right? And work it out. Because look, once you have kids, everything else about the marriage is a hobby. Everything else about your life is a hobby. Because everything that's immediate is should be geared toward building the best household for that kid. And if you don't understand that, once again, this is why I make this this is why I make this show. Because I'm trying to be a little bit countercultural, because too much of the culture is just saying that the divorce, the split family doesn't split the kid, but it actually splits the kid. You're splitting the baby conceptually. Or that you could just substitute in a different father figure for the actual father, as if the actual father just kind of disappears. It's like going to a second marriage with the ex-husband still there and watching like the wife say, for better, for worse, richer, for poor, and all that stuff, the vows. But meanwhile, the ex-husband's like in the fourth row. There's something trying to replace a father with a father figure while the father's still like alive and kicking. It's ridiculous. It's a walking paradox, because you're saying the fatherhood doesn't matter, or you would have honored this guy. Now, we need public policy that actually supports families and upholds families. And I don't just want to make divorce harder, but I wouldn't mind making divorce more culturally stigmatized. But also I want to make people better partners, and people pick better partners, people less messy and better at picking up the mess, and just less mercenary, so they understand that they just work it out. You just work it out. It's not that hard. Once you just get over yourself, understanding that the family unit's about the kids, and just you work out whatever needs to be worked out. And then people say, like, what about the parents who divorce as soon as the kids go to college? That's better. It's still non-optimal, because college, you don't want your kids spinning out in college because like for different kinds of confusion. But it's much better than like making them schlep from place to place when they're like 8, 9, 10, 12. And then there are just there's just certain things you can't do. And this is what liberals don't understand, because they don't do anything. There's certain things you can't do 3 days a week. There's certain ways you can't be 3 days a week. I said before that, like 3 days a week if you have the kids, or every other weekend. I said before that I've played in a lot of orchestras. I bet you the divorce rate among like professional musicians is in the professional classical musicians is in the like is in the single digits, especially in the strings, where you just need everyday practice and someone practicing with you every day, and then someone who understands what it means to practice with you every day. I mean, I'm sure there are a lot of people who are divorced who don't make the orchestras because they didn't have that steadiness of a unified household. And someone in the chat is making the case that, like, in the case of cheating, you're released of all forms of marriage of obligation. No, you can work out cheating. How big of a deal is cheating, really? If you get over the ego of it, how big of a deal is cheating? It's not. You're going to screw up. You're going to screw up like the kids for that. It's not that big of a deal. Get over it. Work it out. Because it's not that big. And then people don't say this. This is why, by the way, you should go to www.funkyacademic.com and kick in $5, $15, or $50 a month. Because nobody's going to say that, like, if your lady cheats and you have kids, work it out. Figure out, like, what that means. Is it like it's not that big of a deal? And if your guy cheats and you have kids, like, there's probably something wrong, but like it might not be that big of a deal. Just let it go. Let it go for the kids. For the unified parenting, because there's some like parenting isn't a 3 day a week thing. And if you think it is, well, I like your take, but I'm petty. Yeah, you are petty. Yeah, that's fine. I'm trying to raise kids who are neither petty and adults who can get over their pettiness for the sake of the kids. So, yeah, just get over it. Get over it. Be an adult. And this didn't make as much sense until I had kids. Then I realized there was no way that there was no way that I would let anything like that keep me from my kids. It would be abuse to the kids. Also, I'm a very good father, and like it would be an abuse if I like left my family for some pettiness that my wife did. Like that would really degrade. That would really degrade. The quality of my kid's life. Yeah, people stay within horrible marriages for all sorts of reasons. And like they stay for money, they stay for like status or reputation, but they won't stay for the kids. No, I'm telling you to stay for the kids. Stay for the kids. Stay for the kids. And figure it. Just your job is to figure it out and show them that their job is to figure it out, and to look for partners for whom they can figure it out, and don't breed with people who are messes. Because if you show them that, well, the divorce is always an option, then they're going to go and breed with someone who they think, well, if it works out, great. And if it doesn't, I'll just divorce him. And then they learned it from watching you. So you need to just model the quality of adult problem solving that you want to see your kid both appreciate in other people and model themselves. It's not that big of a deal. If you fell in love with someone once, then and then like you did something wrong, they should forgive you and you should get better. You gained a bunch of weight or whatever, lose it. And it's not that problem. Someone says, the truth is that the problem is that families requires unselfish people and this world is filled with narcissists. That's true. That's true. I think it's a cultural problem. It's a cultural entitlement. And if we got rid of the entitlement, things would make more sense. It makes sense that kids have a right to a unified family. In the same way it makes sense that people have a right to some sort of claim on the land that they were born on. Like we understand that people fight for property and that like people have a right to stay in the land that they were reared in and all that. But we don't understand that people have a right to a unified family and like to be with the parents that reared them and that birthed them. And that's ridiculous and who have claim to them. But instead we try to split them up as if like they only have that right 50% of the time or twice a week. But mostly we just need adults to actually adult and suck it up and learn how to work with people they don't like in terms of raising the kid. Learn how to love people you don't like. Isn't that what Jesus said? Turn the other cheek with your spouse. If you can't turn the other cheek with your spouse, you can't expect people to turn the other cheek with a stranger. Like, come on. All right. Thank you for your time. If you appreciate what I'm saying, watch this. If you're newly married or whatever, thinking about getting married, affianced, watch this with your fiance and have it out about this because I'm right? Smart people can work things out. If you can't work this out, then we can't really work out any of our bigger problems either. All right. Take care. And I will see you later. Peace.